All right, here we go. All right, thanks everybody for joining the November community call. I hope my voice doesn't sound too weird. I've been sick for the past few days, but yeah, still recovering. But yeah, anyways, thanks for everybody for joining as usual. Today we'll have some Odyssey news to share as usual, and then I'll hand over to our Odyssey India collaborators for them to share on their recent symposium that took place last month, followed by a intro section on a 2024 APAC study we've recently initiated as well. So on Odyssey News, the global symposium. So traditionally, we are supposed to have a recap of the global symposium as well, but due to the amount of agenda we already have, I'm just gonna quickly just give an update on the global symposium and the availability of its materials and resources. So all the materials, as in the post-event page of the global symposium, is now live. This includes both the recordings as well as the presentations given by the speakers. And for those of you who also joined the collaborator showcase, all the posters are also online for you to see. So if you go to the QR codes of these down below, you'll get access to the Odyssey Symposium, a global symposium website, and the one on the right is the collaborator showcase website. So if you weren't there in person and you have a fear of missing out, no worries. You can now see everything online. Just one small note on the tutorials. This is yet uploaded. I'm pretty sure this will become available once all the editing and the logistics of that is sorted out. Before we go into the next agenda, for those of you who joined us at the community call last month, you might recall that I showed this slide at the community call last month to emphasize that a lot of APAC people were nominated as the Titan Award nominees, nominated as the Titans for this year's Global Symposium. I think it's important to highlight that among these people, 3 people were actually awarded to the actual awards. So Jack and Jung Ho, each from Australia and Korea, have been awarded the Titan Award for Clinical Application. For those of you who don't know, it's an award given to recognize individuals or organization or teams, right, for their contributions in generating clinical evidence that improves health by informing better health decisions and better care. So in 2024, along with Jack and Jomo, Cindy was also awarded. So all of these 3 people were the leads for the 2023 SOS Challenge studies. So each year, the Odyssey community selects a few studies from the community in which that think are good clinical questions, and they carry out that study for a fixed period of time. So Jack and Jomo collaborated together on a study question from APAC representing Australia and Korea, and this was successfully run and also showcased at the APAC Symposium last year. So congratulations to Jack and Jung-Oh for receiving this award. Unfortunately, I don't see them in this call with us today, but congratulations anyways. The other Titan Award goes to Max, so the Titan Award for Community Collaboration. For those of you who don't know, this is given to individuals for their collaborative spirit in helping the community reach their goals. So Max was nominated and awarded this award specifically for his contributions to the 2024 APAC ETL project, which we recently wrapped up, and also his leadership in Thailand. So Odyssey and OMOP has been getting a lot of attention in Thailand recently, and Max has played a key role in this attention. So again, I don't see Max in the call today, but congratulations to Max anyways. So great to see that APAC is continuously receiving awards from the OHDSI community, as well as being recognized for our efforts and our contributions to the community. Okay, so that's my brief kickoff of the event, of the OHDSI news. I will now hand over the floor to our OHDSI India collaborators for them to share on their first symposium, and then we'll hand over to Evelyn later on. So to you, Sweta or Parthivan, I don't know which one of you will be presenting.
Parthi will be
That
doing
would,
it.
yeah, I would be presenting. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Okay. So we just wanted to present about our recent summit happened in October, and just a glimpse of what really happened there, what transpired there, and what was the learning from that event. So that is what our agenda is going to be. So quickly, so our event, OHDSI India Symposium, happened on the sidelines of Global Digital Health Summit. This is the premier event in India, which attracts stakeholders from government, medical fraternity, practitioners, policymakers, everyone. And almost 3,000 attendees were there for this two-day event. And I think, again, we have seen the delegates coming all over the globe, and there were more than 80 speakers, and more than 50 sessions happened. And they had a this happened in Mumbai, and this was a prestigious event hall that happened in Mumbai, and there were several booths and stalls where their companies were displaying their products, their educational capabilities, and the policymaker government was announcing their initiatives that is happening in the digital health and the Indian healthcare scenarios. So this was a really well attended event, and the content was also very good. And we have tagged along with this entity for hosting our Indian symposium. So going to our event, this is our schedule that we announced, and we had again a very good lineup of speakers from mostly from India, and we also had some speakers coming from abroad. Like Patrick was one of the keynote speakers was there, and this was fairly packed event for one of the days of that main event. So we had from morning till evening 6 o'clock, we had the series of sessions, and going further along. So we had the main speaker, Louis, our founder of Global Valley Web. He inaugurated this session, followed by Patrick. Patrick gave a very good overview of OHDSI, what is OHDSI about, and what is the OHDSI mission and achievements so far. And followed by Dr. Vikram Patil. Vikram is the secretary for India chapter, and he presented about the Indian chapter journey and what is the future plans that we have. And again, we had a mentioned about the good lineup of speakers, and we had speakers coming from various disciplines. Dr. Kavita, she is a real world data or real world evidence champion in India. She has been working for the decades together, and she presented what is RW in the Indian context. Dr. Ravinder, he is from the Indian Council of Medical Research, which is the main agency from Indian government who funds projects on the research, and they were there and giving some context of how real world evidence is being pursued in India. Dr. Deepak Kalra, again, he presented the from a European health data space, how it is being used. And Dr. Surinder, he is from Aster Hospital, one of the uh, a big hospital chain in India. They have 10 hospitals. They are pursuing a lot of uh, um, clinical research activities. And he talked about how what are the challenges and support for real world data. And Dr. Prashant Shankar, he's medical director from one of the leading traditional medicine hospital. And India being they are using a lot of traditional medicines, and this hospital has been collecting data for last 12 years, and they have started analyzing their trends in the data, and he presented some interesting insights and how they are pursuing the data from a traditional medicine space. And again, Patrick presented from learnings from Eden and how some other things, best practices could be adapted for India. And Dr. Santosh, he's from Indian Society of Clinical Research, and they have a real world evidence work group, and they are pursuing from the clinical trial side, but they have a lot of interesting insights, and they also wanted to collaborate further how ISCR and OHDSI can work together in pursuing their initiatives. There are joint initiatives, and we are also putting joint programs as well. And we also had panel discussions really participated by Indian hospital head and the Indian government policymakers were also present, and they were they discussed on why your real world evidence is important, and how Indian healthcare practices are transforming with that. So it was really um, well attended session, and also a lot of information was shared and well appreciated by the audience. And the second panel session was how the data is important for healthcare transformation. So this is again, we had speaker Patrick and from Portugal, Louis from Netherlands. And so we had a very interesting um, uh, knowledge inputs from various regions of the world, and how it is applied in India as well, from the former Indian federal real world community leader also presented that. And we had a collaborator showcase. Again, we had I think 7 collaborators participated and presented their achievements and what they've done with OHDSI tools and associated applications. And they really presented several approaches and their case studies. And I think this was so much of learnings that was passed on to the community, how this these emerging leaders in the space in India and abroad are using OHDSI tools, and how they are benefiting out of that, and how they are influencing the clinical decisions in an effective way. So in terms of the final takeaways, OHDSI chapter, we were able to identify 8 potential partners who showed a lot of interest to work with OHDSI. And I think this event paved way for bringing all this different stakeholders to the common forum, and they are able to understand the importance of real world data and real world evidence, and they wanted to join hands and go forward. So that is a very positive development, I would say. More than 100+ participants were there, and knowledge sessions were really at least appreciated by this audience. We collected the survey forms and we had a positive feedback from most of the participants. And I think thanks to Digital Health Summit, where they were able to bring in so many stakeholders from diverse fields, we are able to get the representation from the government, academia, leading hospitals, and leading collaborators, technology providers, and data partners, and a lot of medical practitioners as well. So having hosted the first symposium in India, we have a very positive feeling that this OHDSI movement in India is going to grow, and definitely we would be able to influence the future of healthcare in India. So this would be in a short presentation of our symposium experience. Any questions?
Thank you, Parthivan. Any questions for the OHDSI India collaborators here? I personally have a question, maybe from more from a logistic perspective, Parthivan. So you hosted the event in conjunction with the Global Health Data Summit, right? So I'm just wondering, were you involved in the Global Health Data Summit originally, or please go ahead. Yeah.
No, actually, I just wanted to give the context. We have been working with this Digital Health Associates, who is the main driver for driving the healthcare-related policies and policies and different initiatives, and they are very influential with the government policy making as well. So we have been associated with for last 2-3 years, and when they presented this opportunity, like you can have a side event alongside of a main event, we took that opportunity because this is bringing so many stakeholders in a single forum. So this would be a better opportunity for us to host the event rather than us hosting alone. So that's how we joined hands. So of course we have to do some sponsorships, which was taken on, done by Global Value Web.
No, absolutely, I agree, right? I was asking this question because for you to host your first event, I think the biggest burden would be, will we get enough participants? Will we be able to get everyone to join us in this first inaugural event of the OHDSI India chapter? So hosting such event in conjunction with another event that is in place and is already taking place at a regular cadence actually really helps with that. So I think that approach you took is actually very good. Congratulations on having a successful event, Parthivan. Any other questions for the OHDSI India chapter folks here? We have an awfully small audience today. This is very strange. Typically, we have like 30 people. We have half the people. I know a lot of people are traveling, but yeah, it's quite unexpected. But again, thank you for being here in person. I know it's earlier in the day for India, but yeah, thank you again for your wonderful presentation and your experience sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Now I'll hand over the floor to Evelyn. Evelyn, you ready?
Yep. Hello. Let me just go ahead and share my screen really briefly.
Go, Evelyn.
Thanks, Dad. Boss. Can everybody see my screen?
We can
Yes,
see a web
Website.
page.
Okay. Wrong display. Let me just switch that over. Okay, great. Also wrong set of slides. Solid. Thank you, everybody. Also wrong set of slides.
We still see the wrong screen.
Oh, I'm so sick of this.
Yeah. Evelyn, be very careful of what you share, all right?
I wasn't sharing anything else.
We are looking at the presenter mode, by the way.
Yeah, we were looking at presenter mode, but you know what? Let me just change the screen. I think I just shared the wrong screen.
We were all about to see what Evelyn was going to cheat on. That's a shame. We had a brief view of the cheat sheet, guys.
It wasn't a cheat sheet. Okay. I think this should be correct.
Perfect.
Okay, yep. Perfect. All right, hi everybody. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. It is not a TED Talk. I will keep it as quick and short as possible because otherwise I will yap for like a good hour. Well, this is the initiation of a new study that we're hopefully going to be able to do across both North America as well as APAC and hopefully other countries. There's a bit of discussion about whether or not we can do a bit of this in ANZ, but we're not 100% sure yet, so we'll see. Largely, again, based on the title, we're looking at GLP-1 receptor agonists and whether or not it's going to be it's a risk for acute liver injury. So this is a case of drug-induced liver injury. And I'll start to go over a little bit of this. The reason why the HSA logo is on the bottom is because we're doing this in conjunction with them. So there's the plug. Okay, next. All right, bit of context.
Sorry, Evelyn, question. Who is HSA?
The Health Sciences Authority in Singapore.
And what do they do?
They regulate and initiate clinical studies, but it's a regulatory body and they also work on clinical studies. So this is again a drug-induced liver injury, which is why the regulatory bodies are interested in it.
Got it.
Yeah, thanks, Song. I think Song is giving you a lead to introduce the background for the audience. So HSA basically the counterpart of FDA. That may help people understand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so additional context here. We have a couple of GLP-1 receptor agonist studies in the OHDSI network. They are frequently used, as mentioned, for treatment for type 2 diabetes and obesity, and this we're only going to focus on T2DM. There have been several case reports where GLP-1 RA prescriptions have caused or have been correlated with acute liver injuries. We've seen like 3 or 4 of them, but it's not been said whether or not they do cause elevated liver enzyme or very specifically liver injury or liver damage. And so that's what this study is about, especially because of the rising usage due to rising rates of T2DM and obesity. So yes, as mentioned, this is proposed by the equivalent of the FDA in Singapore, the Health Sciences Authority. Some objectives of this course, very briefly, again, very simply, we just want to evaluate the risk of acute liver injury in users who have type 2 diabetes mellitus if they are prescribed GLP-1 receptor agonists. There's 2 parts to this study. There's a cohort study and an SCCS, a self-controlled case study, because there have been so few of this that we may not see anything in the cohort, but we will see. So we initiate the cohort study and we're going to look at what is the relative risk of incidence of this injury when prescribed with second-line GLP-1 RA, so it's okay if they've taken metformin and other stuff before, compared to other classes of second-line diabetic prescriptions. And then after we're done with the cohort, we will do a 1-to-1 SCCS. So in the second one, then you will take the case study and the exposure period and analyze each individual case study as opposed to part of a cohort. Okay. Briefly on the phenotype definition. So again, these are the study designs for the cohort study. We have the OHDSI cohorts and then a specific HSA cohort from the Health Sciences Authority from a hospital in Singapore. I split this off because it's not exactly part of the existing cohort yet, I think. Then we want to sort for exposure and we check for the outcome and to conduct a comparative analysis across the cohorts in North America and APAC to summarize the relative incidence of ALI. Then later on with the SCCS, we will find those individual case studies that popped up in the cohort studies or other We will set an exposure period for now. It's looking like 6 to 12 months, and then we will observe for specific findings in each case study. Okay. Inclusion and exclusion criteria for the cohort. This is a liver-based outcome, and it's centered around people with type 2 diabetes. We excluded obesity in the cohort on purpose because it was hard to define. Type 2 diabetes is a little easier, especially since we have the atlas for it. So we're looking at all adults, anybody that's above 18 years that have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, at least 30 days of prior metformin use, and then at least 365 days of observation period prior to the index date, which means the date that they started Exclusion criteria would be that we would exclude any prior history of type 1 diabetes or secondary diabetes. We would also be excluding existing chronic liver disease because it could be a confounder. We would not be able to tell whether or not this was just exacerbated and they had prior liver disease. Any prior liver injury as well will be excluded, except if they had acute liver injury within 1 year prior to this. So these will be excluded. But anything, if they had an acute liver injury more than 1 year before the index date, we say that's okay because that's acute and that probably is not going to be that much of an issue. We also want hopefully more than 30 days of insulin exposure before the index date. So this is an exclusion criteria. Within 30 days, we say it's fine because insulin, like less than 30 days could be considered for early stage type 2 diabetes. So we said it was okay. Okay. Briefly again to remind everybody on the exposure and outcome. So exposures are our GLP-1 receptor agonists, and our comparator cohorts would be other type 2 diabetes second-line medications, including DPP-4 inhibitors and SGLT2. I have a chart later that's a bit easier to see. Outcomes, we have multiple outcomes. Our primary outcomes is acute liver injury based on diagnostic code. Our secondary outcomes will be based on acute liver injury defined by lab test, and then definitions for cholelithiasis and cholecystitis. Okay, this is a bit easier to see. On the left side, you can see the larger exposures that we're working with. So these are all GLP-1 receptor agonists. You have the category of long-acting agonists, including some of the more common ones, semaglutide and liraglutide. I'm sure a few of us have seen the semaglutide NAION CDM, so we'll be using something very similar. And then you have your few short-acting agonists. And on top of that, these are our two comparator cohorts. So empagliflozin is an SGLT2 inhibitor. Sitagliptin is DPP4. The Legend T2DM study includes sulfonylurea comparator cohorts. We decided not to include them because they're not so commonly found anymore. And so we just kept these two. And briefly, a bit more definition on the outcome. So our primary outcome, as I mentioned, is acute liver injury, acute hepatic injury, based on the diagnostic codes. So based on our existing phenotype library, a couple of these are examples of what they would look like in terms of the definition. So AHI, ALI, with no pre-existing liver disease or with no pre-existing liver disease. These are all examples. There are way more, but these are a few examples of what it would look like.
And then sorry, Evelyn. Song, you raise your hand. You have another question.
I was waiting for Evelyn to pause sometime, but she doesn't pause.
Sorry.
Yes, I know her. That's why
Evelyn, I just wanted to ask a question on the inclusion and exclusion. I'm just not clear. What's the index? Is it the diagnosis date or is it the date of the prescriptions of the drugs?
For this, it would be the date of prescription because we want to see what the incidence happening after that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
For the SCCS, it would probably be different. So the index date for cohort and SCCS would be different. This is for the cohort.
Okay.
Thank you for stopping me. I will make sure to stop a bit more. Okay, this is back to the secondary outcomes. This is the first layer of secondary outcomes is a lab test for the definition of acute liver injury, which is defined as follows based on a paper that we're looking at. So elevated ALT, so multiple lab test combinations as defined here, based on the ULN. There have been discussions about which ULN to use and whether we're going to set on a very specific number. We have yet to come to a decision on that. And then we also want one confirmation that it was normal prior to the index date. Again, in this case, it's a date they started the medication, and then 90 days of observation period after the index date. Again, so 90 days at least after that. And then secondarily is again cholelithiasis and cholecystitis by diagnostic code. Questions?
Great pause, Evelyn.
Yeah. Hey, I take your feedback into account, you know? I try.
No, I'm just messing with you.
I believe you will do a perfect one during the symposium.
I hope so. Am I supposed? Okay, I got questions about that, but yes, later. Okay, no questions, then I will move on. Okay, this is a brief on the exposure and outcome, so it's a little bit easier. Again, as you said, we'll take it from the EHR, the claims to available data set. We will exclude all of this stuff, including T1DM, prior history, more than 30 days of insulin exposure. So if they're all already too severe in terms of type 2 diabetes, and then anybody else with type 2 diabetes, actually, I should put this here. I'll change that later. We will include then if they have more than 30 days of metformin and as long as they have more than 365 days of observation prior to index, then as you can see the outcomes in green down here, we will split for the GLP-1 receptor agonists and the multiple and like the long list of those, and the non-GLP-1 receptor agonists for SGLT2 categories and DPP4 categories and the specific medication for that. Questions? Concerns? Comments? Criticism? Yes, later on also can. Okay, a bit more information on where we are in regards to the package. So we are trying to rush this, a portion of this development for the APAC OHDSI Symposium. So instead of fully fleshing out the package, we've intentionally narrowed down a lot of it for the sake of the symposium, and then we will go back to expanding it later. So the current package has again been narrowed down. So the exposure is we picked only one of the GLP-1 agonists. In this case, we picked only semaglutide. The comparator, we only picked sitagliptin, which is a DPP4. So we left off the SGLT2 comparator cohort for now. And the single outcome is the primary outcome that we're working with, which is just ALI by diagnostic code only. These will be the results that are presented at APAC OHDSI later on. But again, we will expand back to the full list and the full set of comparator cohorts and also the secondary outcomes. There are reasons why we picked this. I will mention them briefly later, but in the meantime, we will move on. Okay, bit more information on package development. So are you going to send out these slides?
Yes. Why?
Okay, then I will leave this. Then I will leave this links here so everybody can take a look at them. We have the summary app. As you can see that Dr. Chan has kindly put up a list of our Atlas instances. So our cohort definitions, our exposure definitions, our primary and secondary outcomes. We have an additional one for cholelithiasis, but I don't think it's quite up yet. But I will add it as much as possible where we can. Our package in this system in this situation is based on Strategas, which has been used before, I think, with the semaglutide anion, but not for Legend T2DM, I don't think, which is a package for coordinating and executing based on OHDSI. So you just need to download and execute. So this is the Strategas package. Okay, bit more on the next steps. So this is what you can do to run the package. This is the available GitHub. All of the information is on here. I do need to update a bit of the information. The protocol is also available on here, and you can read up a little bit more on the case studies in regards to why this was triggered in the first place. A brief on the current data sources that we're looking at. So this is where we split off a little bit. So you can see the APAC data sources. We're looking at the Health Sciences Authorities Kutek Pot dataset, which is a very specific hospital in Singapore. In Korea, we have the one from Dr. Chan, who's not here today. From North America, we're looking at two more. So one from the VA, the Veterans Affairs people, and then maybe one from IQVIA. So we're not, and I think a lot of those are being worked through right now. The reason why we split them like this is related to related a little bit to our exposure cohort earlier. We picked semaglutide for this one, and then we realized that actually semaglutide is a lot more adopted in the North American cohorts as opposed to the APAC cohorts. And so largely a lot of what we're going to end up presenting in APAC OHDSI is centered around the North American cohorts. When we expand fully to the rest of the GLP-1 receptor agonist, we will be able to see the results in APAC, and then we will start to compare. And I think that's largely because there is a little bit of delay in APAC adoption for a lot of these drugs. Questions so far?
No, sorry, Evelyn. I might ask a stupid question. So
No.
if semaglutide is seen more in the US, why not revert to a older one that is more prevalent in both APAC and North America? Or go ahead.
Because it seems to be, because number one is our APAC cohorts are smaller. If we revert it to something like liraglutide, which is the other option, the overall results would be small. So the cohorts would be smaller in general. And what we were saying was, okay, well, the American cohorts are larger. So let's do semaglutide and see whether or not we'll get something out of that, was the agreement that we came to on discussion on Monday, I think.
Okay, so
and also,
it was,
yeah.
So you guys did discuss, and that was the
Yes.
decision made. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And also because the North American data sets were a lot more quickly available than our Asian data sets.
Makes
So we
sense.
prioritized availability so we could execute the result and have more time to present, unfortunately, due to timeline restrictions. Okay, a bit more on data characterization. So there was a bit of question because a lot of the data sets were pretty different from country to country. Like ANZ, I think they weren't sure whether or not they could contribute to this study. They're looking into it a little bit more. So we'll be doing a lot of the cohort diagnostics, our usual propensity score and sensitivity analysis to see whether the cohorts work out. These are the diagnostic thresholds for the data characterization, which is pretty standard as far as I can tell. We are really only looking at the cohort study for now, so our usual covariate balance, empirical equipoise, ease, heterogeneity, and NDR. And all of this is incorporated into the package already to see whether or not certain cohorts are usable or not. Okay, briefly on the analysis plan, assuming the characterizations are okay, we will use HADES, the cohort method, the Cyclops, and Strigas, I think. Again, we will be using the propensity score, sensitivity analysis, our usual proportional hazards to estimate the risk, and residual bias via negative controls. I have to confirm and double check this, but a lot of it is based off of what we were doing before. So, and then the SCCS, once our cohort study is completed, will be based on the HADES package for SCCS and then Cyclops as well. Next is our plug for APAC OHDSI. If anybody is available in Singapore on these dates, 5 to 6, please come along. I will be presenting. And we will then be presenting the results there. So we're not presenting the results here on purpose, number one, because we don't have any. Number two, because we are saving it for APAC OHDSI. Next, also, we are recruiting cohorts. So please, if you have any cohorts that are interested in this, please email me. I will leave this, and then I'm sure I'll be CC'd in Song's email as well. The bigger the cohorts, the better. But small cohorts are also welcome. Everybody is welcome. Yeah. So thank you very much. Happy to take any questions from here on out. I do not think I exceeded 20 minutes. Thank you, everybody who was on the ETL team before as well. If you were wondering why I suddenly disappeared, it was because of this.
Evelyn, love you forever is a very hard commitment. I hope you can live up to that commitment, Evelyn.
It's okay. I love you forever because love is a feeling and the feeling will always exist. I commit to no actions.
Okay.
I will not comment on it. Okay, so I'll leave it there. I won't comment on it. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Evelyn, for your presentation. Any questions for Evelyn? Okay. Just for the rest of the community, as Evelyn has hinted, Evelyn will be presenting this at the APAC Symposium as well, hopefully more centered on how the study was executed as well as the results. But also, as Evelyn has alluded, that will heavily depend on the actual progress made within the next few weeks. So again, I think it's important to highlight that Evelyn is currently leading this at a very short time period. Like she's being given not a lot of time to actually progress on the study itself. It sort of came in a bit, I would say we had discussed doing a study for the APAC Symposium for a long time, but actually getting a grasp of the research question itself took some time as it had to get several people involved in the conversation. So again, thank you, Evelyn, for driving this. I will love you forever as well. Again, I won't commit to any actions, right? It's a feeling and it lasts forever, right? So Evelyn, I mean, the rest of the community, if you are in Singapore, please stay tuned for Evelyn's presentation. And another FYI, Evelyn is emceeing the event as well, if I recall properly. So yes, you will see a lot of Evelyn during the event if you are there.
Yes, so much, so many. You'll get sick of me.
Okay, I'll shut up now. There's a joke in IQVIA. Where's the mute song? So people tell me to shut up and they tell me to mute myself. So I will try to shut up now and open up the floor for any questions or comments.
I will take whatever questions
See,
are.
if I don't shut up, everybody stays silent. So guess what happens? Song keeps talking, right? So like I think I can't help this. But yeah, I will not keep everyone's time for the rest of the hour. I think we had a good session today. The next call in December will be, as usual, guys. We'll do a closing of the year. So we'll do a recap of the symposium, APAC Symposium, for those who weren't there. And we'll have a closing of the year just to summarize or activities that happened in 2024. So last call of the year is next month, guys. Stay tuned. And yeah, I'll see you guys in 1 month's time or 2 weeks' time for those of you who are at the symposium.
Yeah, see everybody. Thank you,
See you.
everyone.
Song, love you
Evelyn
forever,
doesn't sound
Song.
so happy, guys, by the way.
No, I'm
Thank you all.
happy.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Thank you.